Hey, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Jessica Blum here, joining you from the 1011 Alert Center on behalf of the Severe Weather Center team. On Wednesday evening, we have a lot to talk about through the end of this week. We seem to be in this pattern to see rather cold temperatures by the weekend. We saw that last weekend. It is about to get much colder into this weekend. In fact, really the coldest high temperature we've seen so far in the winter season may be upcoming for this Saturday. Before we even get there, though, a snow potential for Friday, rather light snow we're talking about. And the main story through the end of the week being the wind. Really, I think we're going to get sick of the wind by the time this weekend is over and as we head into early next week. Winter wind, not so much all that fun. Really, wind, I don't think at any point of the year is fun, but especially winter winds that can make it feel so much colder at this time of the year. I know I was bracing myself doing some errands this morning with how the winds had picked up and were quite a nuisance through the morning, if not the early afternoon hours. I want to start out here by showing you these peak wind gusts across the state, recorded in each location for Wednesday, January 14th. We did have a 43-mile-per-hour wind gust in Lincoln. Again, that happened pretty early this morning. Some in central Nebraska, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Ord, 45 in Broken Bow. I think this is on the lower end of the potential wind gusts we could be seeing by the time we get through this work week. Namely, Friday, the strongest winds are expected to come our way. So these were all northerly winds today. We will see a wind shift into the day tomorrow to be more southerly as a warm front works its way from western Nebraska into eastern Nebraska. And that southerly wind shift will result in a brief warm-up for Thursday. So that roller coaster ride of temperatures it seems like we've been on, that is set to continue as well. Wanted to point out, after we looked at the peak wind gusts today, that the wind speeds right now a lot more manageable. You notice that wind did come down, and here just past 8 o'clock this evening, rather calm in many locations even, but a north wind right now in Lincoln under 10 miles per hour, no higher wind gusts being reported anywhere across the state. And as I mentioned, the biggest story really of the next several days being the wind. We did see the National Weather Service issue a high wind watch for central and western areas of Nebraska. This will be set to go into effect late Thursday night throughout the day on Friday. This, again, looks to be an event that will likely last for several hours. Very blustery conditions statewide throughout the day on Friday. And even though eastern Nebraska is not under any type of high wind alerts, this is what we usually see kind of preceding what will be a high wind warning for these areas by the time we get closer to Friday. And eastern Nebraska probably not going to meet that high wind warning criteria, so we'll likely see a wind advisory. All of it means we're going to see pretty high wind gusts, but in eastern Nebraska, we're talking 45, 55 mile per hour wind gusts possible. But then in these areas where we're looking at the high wind watch for now, 60, 65, maybe even up to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, a possibility late Thursday night into Friday. So as we talk about the details in this, I want to step you through hour by hour with our future wind gusts based on the graph model. We've had to adjust this a little bit because models tend to underdo potential wind gusts, in my opinion, from what I've seen over the years in forecasting for Nebraska. So not too bad, really tonight into early tomorrow morning, but throughout the morning and late morning into the afternoon hours, the winds will be picking up again and eventually shifting out of the north behind another front. As you can see, the highest wind gusts in eastern Nebraska, 25, 35, maybe up to 40 miles per hour, but namely central and western Nebraska going to see some of the higher wind gusts on Thursday. It will namely be those wind gusts increasing with time as we go late Thursday and into Friday. Another burst of blustery winds that will last for quite some time throughout Friday as I step you through it. This is 2 a.m., waking a lot of us up in northern Nebraska probably as we go throughout the morning hours. There you see it, wind gusts of 45 to 50, 55, 60 miles an hour going to be possible as soon as 9, 10 a.m. and still staying rather strong. This is Friday afternoon around 4 o'clock. Again, I think in Lincoln, our highest wind gusts could be approaching 45, 50 miles per hour. Can't rule out some 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts in northeast Nebraska. But 55 to 65, maybe even a few isolated wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour in areas of the Sandhills and the higher elevation on Friday. Now, when you pair that with our potential for a little bit of snow, it wouldn't take much to reduce visibilities and result in some tough driving conditions, at least in winter weather driving conditions for the day on Friday. This is kind of a sneaky setup. As I show you Skycast eventually, planning out the next few days, this is a setup that could lead to snow squalls and snow squall warnings. That's a relatively new term that the National Weather Service uses in a new product, the snow squall warning, to give people a heads up as they're on the road to really pull over as soon as possible. The visibility is about to drop quickly to zero for a time, and you won't want to be caught on a road in those conditions. So just keep that in mind. The possibility is certainly there to see snow squalls on Friday, even though, as I show you Skycast, it doesn't show a lot of snow, and it won't take a lot of snow at these high winds to create reduced visibility. As we go into Friday evening and Friday night, still rather gusty conditions. I don't think the wind will come down until really the morning time frame of Saturday, and really by Saturday afternoon. So leftover gusty winds on Saturday, with maybe even a few flurries coming down at that point, will make for a very cold start to this weekend. A roller coaster ride. I wanted to get to some of that and show you the last 7 days of high temperatures here in Lincoln range from 40 degrees to 66 degrees. And that was in a matter of back-to-back days. Last Wednesday was 66 degrees, had a high of 40 degrees last Thursday, and then we kind of were steady in the 40s. A nice brief warm-up to close to 60 degrees Monday and Tuesday, but you remember Tuesday that happened earlier in the afternoon, and then temperatures fell. Today, that high temperature happened at midnight, so we really didn't feel as warm as 42 degrees at any point today. And then as we point out the next 7, really that roller coaster ride looks to be a lot worse. Brief warm-up tomorrow, upper 40s, back to the 30s Friday, but the teens on Saturday, bottoming out with a high of 16 degrees. That would be our coldest high temperature of the season so far. Trying to rebound on Sunday, cold again Monday, up, down, is really this weather pattern that we're in, which does not bode well for, I know, our bodies, and a lot of people trying to battle some sickness going around, things like that. Want to keep the liquids flowing, hydrated in a time like this. Humidifier probably good too, because we're looking at fairly dry air when I'm talking about the snow potential, fairly fluffy type of snow with the dry air. But yeah, things like that. Lotion, I'm thinking about that. My hands feel rather dry as I'm talking to you. But hey, high temperatures today. Again, Lincoln, 42 degrees. That happened at midnight. And here's the temperature spread past that time frame. Slowly fell to the upper 30s by 6 a.m. Had a little bit of a temperature drop off to just below freezing from 8, 9, 10, 11 a.m. And then we didn't warm all that much into this afternoon. An afternoon high of around 34 degrees. And now we fall into the teens just past 8 o'clock tonight. So a chilly look at the city lights from our Skyview cameras across the state here in Lincoln, O'Neill, Grand Island, and North Platte. As I bring up Lincoln, we're at 25 degrees at the 1011 studio, 19 at the airport. It feels like 10. Not a fan of winter temperatures. We know it can get a whole lot colder. In fact, the day before, I believe it was Monday. Yeah, Monday was our anniversary of the coldest temperature ever recorded in Lincoln, which was negative 33. So we are not talking about that for an actual air temperature. But getting some more winter temperatures on this Wednesday, and certainly looking rather winter-like into this weekend, as we're talking about frigid sub-zero wind chills by the time we get into this weekend as well. A north wind 7 miles per hour. Again, those winds came down significantly from early this morning. Temperatures as of 8:10 on your Wednesday evening are in the 20s, actually, for a lot of us. 21 right now in Beatrice, 23 in Wymore, 22 in Seward, 24 in Hastings, 27 degrees, the warmest in southeast Nebraska, in Red Cloud and Superior. As you look across the state, 14 right now in Wayne, 30s in the far southwestern reaches of the state. The Imperial's at 37 degrees. Scotts Bluff, you are also at 37 degrees. But when you factor in what little wind is out there, there are some spots that feel like the single digits. Tacoma, Columbus, it feels like 8 degrees right now for you. And I think we're going to be wishing for some of these feel like temperatures, these wind chills, by the time we get to this weekend. So still a lot to talk about in our live stream here this evening. Satellite and radar showing a band of clouds right now over central Nebraska. That is right around where a stationary front has kind of stalled out and will eventually lift from western Nebraska and eastern Nebraska as a warm front Thursday to bring us southerly winds, high temperatures ranging from the 40s to the 50s and 60s. Feeling a bit better for Thursday before, again, the bottom falls out Friday and into this weekend. So you'll see that band of cloud cover move over eastern Nebraska tonight into tomorrow morning. Starting out the day, partly sunny to mostly cloudy in eastern Nebraska. A lot more sunshine in western Nebraska. Going to be rather mostly cloudy, really, I think, throughout much of the day in eastern Nebraska. As you look at the noon time frame, into the evening, some clearing, but here comes our front just behind it. Maybe enough forcing to see a few sprinkles. I will say the profile of the atmosphere doesn't support a lot of that making it to the ground, so those that see much of anything, it shouldn't be much. Clouds will filter in and out, but then we get to Friday. And I spent all that time at the beginning to show you the winds first because that is the highest impact that makes this event, again, sneaky. You're not looking at a lot of snow showers. I mean, you're trying to look for those blue blips across the state. At 9 a.m., you're not really seeing a lot from this model. But snow streaks and streaks of snow showers are certainly going to be possible throughout the morning and afternoon time frame. And during that window, we could, again, see some snow squalls, which would mean rapidly reduced visibility. You think of really dense fog changing over short distances. That's kind of a snow squall. It's kind of a mini blizzard, actually, that comes through with snow and can just really make for whiteout conditions right out in front of you as you're driving and trying to get from point A to point B in the snap of a finger. Or fingers. So Friday's really a day to be aware of and a setup to be weather aware of. Again, throughout the morning into the afternoon, you're not going to see a lot of snow, but it doesn't take a lot of snow when we're talking about such strong winds into Friday. Some drier air will filter in eventually going into Saturday, but even with the dry air and such cold temperatures Saturday morning, that's another setup that I wouldn't be surprised if a few more flurries come from some more of the cloud cover for the beginning of the day. Again, Friday, as we're talking about the afternoon time frame, you're looking at wind gusts of 45, 55, up to 65, maybe 70 miles an hour throughout the state. So what seems like low impact will actually be a high impact because of some of those winds for those that see some of the snow showers streaking across areas of central and western or central and eastern Nebraska, namely. This is the snowfall potential through 10 a.m. based on one of our models, and I just wanted to give you a quick reference for the higher end of potential snowfall amounts. It's not going to be much, a couple tenths at the most in Lincoln is what I'm thinking. In north central Nebraska, maybe that's closer to a half an inch to an inch. I think even 2 inches might be overdoing it for Valentine. But just giving you an idea of where the snow is going to fall from Friday into early Saturday morning. Over the next 72 hours, not only was that model I was just showing you hinting at a couple tenths in Lincoln, there are a few models that hint at a couple tenths, but it will not be more than that. So not a whole lot of snow, but rather cold through the weekend. That will likely stay on the ground throughout Saturday, if not into a little bit of Sunday, too. Sunday is going to be a cold start, too. But let's start with your forecast low temperatures tonight and a Thursday morning, falling into the teens in eastern Nebraska. 16 for a low on here in Lincoln, Omaha, 14 up in Wayne. And then you'll see as I go through time, these high temperatures don't look very great. In fact, our low temperatures tomorrow morning will likely match our high temperatures on Saturday. So forecasted highs, again, southerly wind, warm front, helping us out, 40s, 50s, even close to 60 degrees in southwest Nebraska, maybe 62 for Imperial and McCook. That'll feel much better than at any point today. Then highs on Friday, these temperatures likely falling throughout the day. Low to mid 30s, but really feeling much colder throughout the day because of those blustery winds. Your forecasted high temperatures on Saturday. Brr. I'm the kind of person, if we're going to see a winter cold setup like this, I would like some snow. More than a couple tenths, but it really doesn't look like that's in the forecast anytime soon. I know a lot of snow lovers are like, give me a good snowstorm, but really this is not looking like that through this weekend. So as you look at the 7-day forecast, tomorrow sticks out as the warmest. Temperatures falling throughout the day on Friday. Scattered snow streak. How should I say this? Scattered streaks of snow showers. Say that 10 times fast. Will be likely across central and eastern Nebraska on Friday, even though we put a 30%. Isolated showers, not everyone's going to see them, but those that do, keep in mind snow squalls are a possibility. We'll be watching out for that. And then a 20% chance of a little leftover snow into Saturday morning. Cold day, high of 16. You look at some of those lows, too. I think by Sunday morning, we're starting out at 5 degrees, so above zero. You're not looking at any negative temperatures in terms of the actual air temperatures, but when you factor in the wind, I think we'll see a few good days of sub-zero wind chills, especially in the night and into the early morning time frame. So Saturday morning wind chills could be bottoming out in the 5 to 15 below range. Sunday, we're starting out the day again around 0 to 10 below. Again on Monday, looking like a cold start. But then you'll see kind of a pattern. We warm up through the week, not by much, but then maybe getting cold again by next weekend, next Saturday. That's a far ways out, but patterns that we're keeping an eye on. Here's a look at your actual temperatures over the next 10 days for each of these locations across the state. Saturday, those purples certainly stick out. With those precipitation chances peaking on Friday and a Saturday. A few locations have a 20% chance on Sunday for maybe a few more isolated snow showers. And then again, more precipitation chances don't appear again till the end of next week. Your 8 to 14-day precipitation outlook is starting to lean toward a chance at above average precipitation here over much of Nebraska, and especially toward the Rockies and toward the Ohio River Valley. And your 8 to 14-day temperature outlook from the 22nd of January through the 28th is leaning toward a better chance at below average temperatures. So maybe a colder end to the month as well. So bring it back home to the 7-day. Again, your biggest weather stories, or really the biggest weather story, is going to be the wind as we head into Friday. Again, what snow does happen for those that see it could result in some of those commutes, really the morning and afternoon time frame, being affected by highly isolated snow showers streaking through the state for a time. And then a very frigid day on Saturday, the coldest of the next 7, with a high only in the teens. Next coldest after that looks like MLK Day, so for the longer weekend for some, MLK Day will be rather cold too, with highs in the 20s, and our average high at this time of the year is in the mid-30s. So we are actually looking at several days now around average highs, if not below that. And just a forecast that truly looks like January, I think, for quite some time. I think we were waiting for that to truly happen, and still having a lot of 50s and 60s in the 7-day didn't make it feel like it was January quite yet, but I think we're certainly there now after a day like today, and then again a brief warm up tomorrow. Temperatures falling rather quickly into this weekend. Stay warm, everyone. If you've got to travel Friday, I know a lot of us will still have work and things like that. Be safe, be weather aware. We'll work, of course, to give you the latest details as we get closer to Friday. Likely going to be a windy day, too, with wind advisories for much of eastern Nebraska and high wind warnings for much of central and western Nebraska. But until next time, wish everyone a great Wednesday evening.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.